Hi, I'm Bill Bolden, also known as Struik, the creator of Pieces, and this is Ryan Kairalla, my friend, entertainment lawyer, and a contributor to Pieces. Say hi.
Hey everybody, good to see y'all.
So we have some questions for you today about what it was like to work on Pieces, and the first one is, who are you?
Well, I'm an entertainment lawyer from Miami, Florida. I also do some narration and voiceover work here and there, which made this, a pretty nice thing to get involved with, both on the legal side and the creative side. I work a lot with independent musicians in my legal practice. I host a podcast called the Break the Business Podcast, which is all about helping independent content creators achieve success on their own terms, using 21st century technology and all the innovations in distribution, fundraising, and creation that have come about. Something that you're no stranger to, of course, Spruik.
Right, right. Which brings me to my next question. How did Spruik and you meet?
Well, we met through the podcast. That's how I meet a lot of the creatives I have a pleasure of knowing in this industry. I got super intrigued by your previous album, Music to Die Alone in Space 2. I loved how innovative it was, how you were sort of turning the traditional release and distribution model on its head, giving every fan a unique musical and audio-visual experience. And I thought that was so awesome. I had to have you on my podcast to talk all about it. And we've been connected ever since and working together on stuff ever since, and it's been fantastic. And I'm so excited to be involved in Pieces, which seems just 10 times more ambitious than the already plenty ambitious Music to Die Alone in Space do.
Yeah, I'm excited, and it's decently ahead of where Music to Die Alone in Space 2 was at this point in its lifetime, which is good because it is decently more ambitious. So definitely doing a Kickstarter is I've done it once, but having done it once can't prepare me for doing it a second time. Okay. Next
I mean, just being
question.
in the thick of that 30-day clock that you're in right now, I mean, it must be just drinking from a fire hose every day. I
It is. It
can't even
is.
imagine.
If you ask anyone who's done a Kickstarter, they'll tell you it's eggshells till it funds, even when it's on track to fund. Okay, the next question. What qualifications do you bring to this project, and what are cool things you've done in this past? And you can feel free to answer this on both fronts, as a writer and also as a lawyer.
All right. Let's go with the lawyer's side first, because I think the qualifications there are a lot easier to ascertain. I've been a practicing entertainment lawyer for 5 years. Graduated from New York University School of Law in 2012, where I won the Jack J. Katz Award for Excellence in Entertainment Law, which, fascinating piece of trivia, was also won by Alma Alamuddin, or Alma Clooney, when she was a student at NYU Law. So George Clooney's wife and I have the same graduation award, which I think is the coolest professional accomplishment of my life.
You're basically telling me you're BFFs with George Clooney.
I mean, I like to think if I ever met the Clooneys at a cocktail party or something, wouldn't that be the best icebreaker ever? I mean, I feel like I'd be scoring right there for sure. And as I said before, I specialize working with a lot of independent musicians. That's where I devote a lot of my practice on the entertainment side, and I've enjoyed that sort of work very much. I work a lot with people who do Kickstarter campaigns and who have kind of unique needs on the intellectual property side, which is pretty much Spruik written all over it. So I think I'm a good fit to help put this project out there on the legal side. And on the creative side, I've been doing voiceover work ever since I was in high school on little projects here and there. I also host a podcast that I talk on every week for the last 2 years. And I narrated my audiobook, which is the Break the Business, Declaring Your Independence and Achieving True Success in the Music Industry book. I put that out earlier this year.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. The next question. Do you have a unique point of view that comes through in your contribution? And I understand obviously we can't give up the ghost or anything, so it's fine to speak vaguely here. But in what ways does you being you contribute to the piece that you wrote for Pieces?
Oh man, I'm just mind sweeping at this point right now. I have to I got to answer this question without spoilers. Okay. Certainly where I come from. I'm where I grow up, the area I'm from absolutely shines through in this project and is a huge aspect of what I'm doing. I like to think that, my hometown, my neck of the woods in the U.S. is very much almost a character in your story, Struik, and plays a pretty significant role in a lot of the things that are going on. And I'm sure you get this from a lot of your writers, but in a lot of ways, just my life experience, my childhood, a lot of the things that I've learned in my life and experienced in my life, that it all shines through in the things that I've written and narrated for your project. Even though we are writing about a future that has not happened, and hopefully won't happen, but it is still, everything that I'm doing is still a product of the experience I've lived and where I come from.
Okay. Next question. So, like Music to Die Alone in Space 2, this is a horrifying and depressing project. But I find that working on depressing material is incredibly therapeutic for me. For me, writing an album about dying alone in space was a way of taking some of my most deep-seated fears about loneliness, asphyxiation, emotional distance, and wrapping them up in a package that then I could point to it and say, well, all my emotions, they're that. And so now I don't have to have them inside me anymore because I shared them with others. So this is really therapeutic. What kind of emotions did you feel when working on your piece? Was it therapeutic, or was it disturbing, or did you feel hope or despair?
I would say I was invigorated by it more than anything else. Working on this project has taken me out of my comfort zone, both on the creative side as well as on the legal side. On the creative side, I don't get to do a lot of stuff where I write and narrate the things I write. Though I write a lot, I don't get to do a lot of narrative work in either my writing or my voiceover work. So it was an interesting artistic venture for me on that side. And on the legal side, oh my God, is this nothing like anything that typical entertainment lawyers do?
Yeah, so that's where I wanted to take you with the last question is, and I think that viewers are going to be really interested in this. What is the unique challenges that you faced as an entertainment lawyer while making the releases for Struik's Pieces that is like, I have never had to put that in a contract before? Like,
oh, sure. When you look at just a typical artist who puts a record out, they make the record and then it goes through a record label and then the label does most of the work and then you're just kind of looking at the record contract. But with you, it's a Kickstarter financed, producer released project in which you are using a bunch of different contributors. So all those contributors need contracts that we have to put together, and those particular agreements have to have language in there that makes it clear to all the creators that Struik's going to be doing some pretty wild stuff to the stuff that you send him. It's going to be altered. You're taking little pieces of everybody's contribution, you're moving them around, you're mixing them together, you're cutting them off at just the right moment to be the most artistically fascinating. And the folks who create the work have to know that so that they're not freaked out when what they send to them and they eventually hear on the record bear very little resemblance to each other. And of course, the Kickstarter component of all this is crazy too, with everybody getting their own unique copy of this, having to tackle the copyright issues that come along with that, the government registration issues that come along with that. It's an exciting challenge and it's a fun challenge. And it's taken me out of my comfort zone, both as a creator and even more so as a lawyer.
Did we wind up using the word mangled in the legal release? I can't remember.
Certainly some equally crazy synonyms for sure.
The release that we send the creators sends something to the effects of You acknowledge that due to the unusual nature of this project, what you hear or what people are delivered may not bear any resemblance to what you submitted to
Yes.
Spruik.
Yeah, I believe the phrase "bear little resemblance" was absolutely in that agreement
Well,
because we
especially
wanted the creators to know what they were getting themselves into.
I don't want under copyright law or something. I don't want a creator to send in oratory that's of Shakespeare level quality, like the greatest work ever, and then hear it come out on the contribution and say, "I like to kill all the babies." And like they'll be like, "I never said I like to kill the babies." Be like, "Whoa, man, algorithm! I didn't have control of it. You didn't have control of it. That's just what came out." Zach Sloan, you just got here. We have a viewer. Zach, do you have any questions for Ryan about what it was like building the legal boilerplate to help make a 1,000-copy unique album work under copyright law? I'm sorry, there's a slight stream delay, so it takes a few minutes for questions to roll in. While we wait to see if there are any viewer questions, we got more than a couple people in the stream. I'd like to ask you any closing remarks, anything you want to say about just what it was like to work in Pieces, anything else?
Just that it's been really fun working on this, and I don't like to dabble in hyperbole, so believe me when I tell you that this is not hyperbole. This needs to get funded because we all need to see what this looks like, because this is going to be like nothing that's ever been created in music before, and we're able to, and Spruik's able to create this stuff because of the way the industry has changed, and it's going to be fun, it's going to be entertaining, it's going to bring a community of people together in a way that other music projects don't really do, and we all got to see this happen because it's going to be really groundbreaking.
Viewer Zach Sloan says, how does this apply across states, or is it only a federal issue?
One of the things I like the most about copyright law, which is really the law that gets implicated most in what we're doing here on this project, is copyright law is federal. There is some state common law that comes into play, but for the kind of work that we need to do here, and that it needs to be, putting work for hire paperwork together, we get to deal with federal law, which makes things a lot less crazy on the legal side for that one aspect of it. Certainly just the fact that we're dealing with a lot of contracts, contract law is going to come into play, and one of the things that we have in these agreements is to make sure that it's governed by Spruik's home state's law, so Spruik can have the New York home field advantage to which he's accustomed.
Oh, that's right. What state has the best and worst protections for copyright?
Well, again, since copyright is federal, unlike many different areas of law where the law can vary so much, we're all kind of playing by the same rules when it comes to copyright law.
I have learned that patent law is slightly different in different states. Patents are federal, but some states have a reputation for letting patent infringement cases get a lot further. Most notoriously, there's I think it's the First District Court in Texas is where most patent trolls in the United States operate out of, because they have a notoriously lenient board of judges there that so every time my company has been sued for patent infringement, it's come from that district because the judges there allow everything.
That's exactly right. There is in fact, the judge in Texas that kind of is responsible for all this has built sort of a cottage industry in his little courthouse, because there's like hotels and restaurants and all these things that have popped up around this courthouse because all the patent troll lawyers show up in that area because they know that they'll get the judgment they want from this judge. Even though it is a unified federal law, as you said, the law is getting shaped by the different federal courts at different paces, and so that court in Texas is really making a big mess of things and hampering a lot of innovation because of the way that patent law can be abused. Thankfully, in copyright law, things are a lot more settled. A lot of the basic principles that you're using for your project are mostly set in stone, thankfully, and we've been able to adapt it pretty well to your project.
Very cool. Well, if there's no further viewer questions, by the way, Zach Sloan, are you a Kickstarter backer? If not, I strongly encourage you to become so. It is, like Ryan said, one of the most ambitious and weird projects to ever exist. And if you're not, I can leave the link in the chat. So barring any further viewer questions, I'm Bill Spruik Bolden, the creator of Pieces. Ryan made this project legally possible. Oh, awesome. Ryan made this project legally possible, and he is writing a passage for it, voice acting his own passage, and when you get a unique copy of the album, you will have your chance to hear a scrambled tiny fragment of his story and combine it with other people's fragments to try and reverse engineer what happens to Ryan when America falls. All right, let's end this stream. And Zach, I'll go put the link in the chat right now, and then I'll post this video to the Kickstarter later. Thanks, Ryan.
You got it.
Bye.